Welcome to the Mesonet Weather Report. I'm Wes Lee. Winters are usually dry in Oklahoma, but this year we seem to be faring pretty well due to the beneficial El Nino conditions. The weekly drought maps clearly show the improving conditions. Soil moisture levels are in great shape at most Mesonet locations, even down to our deepest sensor. Midweek, our 4-inch fractional water index is showing at least 0.8 or higher statewide. Remember, 1 is as wet and 0 is as dry as the sensor can read. Just a few months ago, near the start of winter, we had much drier conditions in the west and especially the Panhandle regions. Some of those drier conditions still show up on our deepest sensor location of 24 inches, but it is much improved in all areas outside of Cimarron and Texas counties. Looking at a line graph over time is another good way to get a feel for soil moisture conditions. Copan in Washington County was one of the drier locations last year relative to the long-term average. You can see on this 90-day graph that the two deepest levels, shown by the dashed lines, took a while but have finally recovered to a more suitable index level. Let's hope the soil moisture continues to hold up for our fastly approaching spring greenup. Now here's Gary with that latest drought map I referred to.
Thanks, Wes, and good morning, everyone. Well, we have drought just about completely out of the state. Not quite, though. Let's take a look at that new drought monitor map and see where we're at. Just some minor changes in Oklahoma so far. Unfortunately, we still have those small areas. That's the good part of drought down in south central and southwestern Oklahoma. A little bit up there in far northeastern Oklahoma, right along the Osage, Kansas County line. But we have had just a few improvements down across central Oklahoma. So things are still going good. A few more good rains over the next month or two, and we could have drought completely out of here. We'll take a look at the rainfall thus far for 2024. This goes through February 7th, so some pretty good rains over the entire state. You know, those 4, 5, 6 inch amounts that we see in parts of the state over across eastern, northeastern Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma, those are certainly wonderful. But you know, those 1 to 2 to 3 inch amounts across western Oklahoma and even parts of the Panhandle are also wonderful as well. And I can show you that on the departure from normal rainfall map. So those 1 to 2 inch amounts across western Oklahoma, generally sometimes bigger than the surpluses of those 4 to 5 inch amounts across eastern Oklahoma. So everybody getting a good dose of rain, just a few minor areas with deficits. And we look at the percent of normal, basically where we would be this time of year compared to you know, the time of year versus what we've actually gotten. We can see, you know, the northwestern 2/3 of the state actually gotten the lion's share of the surpluses, from 100 to 200 to even as much as 300% of normal in some cases. So really good rainfall across the northwestern 2/3 of the state, but in general a good rainfall across the entire state. You've probably heard mention of the possibility of La Nina as we get into the next fall through winter. So fall of 2024 through winter and then the early spring of 2025. We certainly see that on some of the model output that look at those sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific. However, we are in what's called the gray period, the barrier that prevents us from really seeing what's going to happen out there in the fall and winter. But it does look like La Nina is certainly possible. The good news is drought's on its way out in the state of Oklahoma, hopefully on its way out for good with a few more good rains. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.